Stephen from Wagtail Urban Farm. So today I'm getting my propagation going for the farm. I do most of my propagation here at home, and then I take the seedlings to the farm to plant. So I thought what I'd do is I'd go through some of the tips and tricks that I've learned through the years to make sure that my summer garden is successful. Winter gardening, pretty easy because you don't have to worry so much about the water. Summer in Adelaide is difficult, so I thought I'd just share some of those things. Right. So, got a lot of broccoli planted. It's probably 6 to 8 weeks away from being harvested. That's probably perfect. Gets cut out, prepare the soil, put in something like a summer crop, maybe zucchinis, maybe corn, maybe tomatoes. That's a good window to get something done. In other places I've got, say, garlic, they're probably not going to come out until November. So, I can't think about putting anything into that spot yet. So it's just a good idea to work out where you're going to put things. The other thing that's really important to do, I think, in wintertime, when everything's sort of slowing down, is check irrigation. Just put the irrigation on and see if there's any leaks or if there's any sections where the water isn't coming out. It's better to be on top of them now than when the soil starts losing its moisture and starts to dry up, and then you notice your plants are dying. It's a good idea. You've got irrigation that's got a cap on the end that you can take off to run the irrigation and just flush it. That one seems to be blocked. So as it turns out, I hadn't turned the valve on at the other end. It's flowing now. And then the compost. I like to make sure I've got enough for the whole season, I don't want to be buying it in on a whim. I want to have it there, ready to go, ready to plant, no matter how many seedlings I have to put in. Sometimes someone gives you some seedlings, or you might find a really good bargain at the garden centre. So it's nice to have a lot of compost on hand. Don't skimp on compost. It's really the magic that makes the soil bloom. And last but not least is fertilizer. Fertilizer is actually the plant food. A lot of people think plants get food out of compost. They don't really. It's more the fertilizer that gives them the nutrition that they need. You can use any fertilizer, it doesn't really matter. The plants will take up the nutrient, but chemical fertilizers kind of force the plant to take it up, and sometimes they can grow uncontrollably, whereas with an organic fertilizer the plants only take what they need, and so they'll grow at a controlled rate. I make my own fertilizer. It's a powdered fertilizer, so it's absorbed quite quickly. It's readily available in the soil. You can also get, commonly you can get granular fertilizers. They take a little bit longer to break down in the soil. So you might want to add them to the soil consistently rather than as the plant's going into the ground. And so just quickly, it doesn't matter if you're doing it in the ground or in a raised bed. I would always make sure all the weeds are dead. Mix a little bit of fertilizer in there, could be the granular one, compost. In the summertime, or preparing for a summer garden, be a bit more generous with the compost, because compost acts like a sponge. It holds moisture in the soil. That's really important, as the plants develop over the growing season. They're more dependent on the moisture, and so it's better for them that it doesn't dry out. Then mix that through. This is a really important part that not a lot of people do. Mix the compost into the top 10 centimetres of the soil. You can use a spade or anything to do this. I'm using a homie. And once you've done that, you can plant. One last trick. If you plant in the evening, the plants suffer less stress as their roots repair overnight, and they can take up moisture in the morning, and they're not losing moisture throughout the day. So it's better, I think, to plant in the evening. The other thing you can always do is just mulch with a little bit more compost, and that's it. Okay, so let's recap. Firstly, clear up the space that you're going to use as a potting bench, or make a potting bench somewhere that you can do the bits and bobs that you can't do in the garden itself. Then go through the garden and work out where the long-lived crops are and where the spaces are going to be that you can put your first lot of summer crop into. Don't stress too much about crop rotation, especially this is the first time you've actually run a veggie garden. A lot of people, are put off by the whole idea of crop rotation. It's not that important at the beginning. Once you get used to it, get some skill under your belt, well, then you can start worrying about where you're going to put things. After that, it's irrigation. Plants are going to need water, so make sure your irrigation system is set up, or at least adequate. If you're going to be hand watering, at least check with a trowel in the soil how deep that water's gotten down, because you'll be surprised. You can water by hand for a long time and the water doesn't get very deep down. That's why we recommend irrigation. Make sure you've got compost on site. Make sure you've got the fertilizer on site. And as long as that's all sorted, then you can start worrying about the smaller things like, how you're going to protect your crops from the bugs and the birds and whatever else is going to try and attack them. So, hope that's given you an idea of how to prepare for a summer garden. Good luck.